Spices, More Important Than You'd Think, by Zoe, World Cultures. Spices were one of the major parts of Eurasian trade. Other than being used to preserve or make food taste better, spices had medicinal and cosmetic uses, which was part of why they were so valued. This map shows Malacca, which was the main spice trade place in the 15th century. In 1511, the Portuguese captured Malacca to ensure a position in the spice trade.
Malay and Javanese traded in the eastern islands, exchanging textiles, also known as cloth goods, and basic foods for spices, and Chinese traders exchanged luxury items such as porcelain for spices.
Arab merchants controlled the early spice routes and brought the spices of the Malay archipelago into the Middle East and through Venice into Europe. Some spices include aromatics, sandalwood, peppercorns, cinnamon, black pepper, nutmeg, mace, ammonia, and cloves.
Cinnamon and black pepper are two examples of popular spices that were traded. Cinnamon was used by the ancient Egyptians for embalming. Black pepper was a favored condiment of Rome. Both black pepper and cinnamon are native to Indian subcontinent, Sri Lanka, Moluccas Islands. In the 1st century, before the spice route was officially established, Indian and Indo-Malayan ships with spices had been trading with China through Guangzhou. In the 2nd century BC, both Roman and Greek ships sailed the Red Sea for India to trade spices in what was later known as the spice route. During the late 15th century, trade between China and Arabia was still going well. Around that time, European trade also started in the beginning of the 16th century.
When the Portuguese first tried to find the Spice Islands at the end of the 15th century, they were intruding on a well-established network of long-distance Asian trade. To secure their position in this spice trade, the Portuguese captured Malacca, which was the main trade spot in 1511.
Most spices are native to particular geographic areas, and many are perishable. This meant that moving spices across long distances was very difficult because the plants would die, but very profitable. Countries and city-states in the Mediterranean region earned fortunes in the spice trade.
Many types of spices made their way through the Himalayas. Through this passage, the spices got to China and became important components of Chinese civilization as incense and medicinal salves.
People traded spices by using camel caravans over the Silk Roads. Spice ships also traveled over the Red Sea. The spice trade helped the Silk Roads to grow and become a very large international pathway.
Spices were valuable goods because they had many different uses. They could be used as a condiment or a preservative and also had important medicinal and cosmetic uses. Starting in the late medieval times, spices were in great demand in Europe, where they were used to preserve meat after the annual slaughter of cows that could not be fed through the winter.